Welcome to the next lesson, building a life-changing brand. One of the cornerstones of ASM is the importance of building a brand. Your brand is going to become your most valuable asset, one that can provide cash flow for many years to come or be sold to investors for a life-changing amount of money. But if building a brand sounds overwhelming, don't let it be. It all starts with just one product, and we're going to show you exactly how to find that product and build your brand. In this lesson, I'm going to show you what exactly a brand is, the 3 types of products you should create when building your brand, and why you never want to launch your first product without having your second and third ones in mind. So let's get started. Now, before we talk about what a brand actually is, let's first talk about what the goal of ASM is. And that is to build your own profitable brand of physical products. Not just one single product, which is still great, but we want you to build a brand. Because a brand is more likely to generate enough cash flow for you to live off of and also turn into an asset that you could sell for millions of dollars later on down the road. Now, what is a brand? Well, our definition of a brand might be a little different than what you would Google, but our definition is simply a collection of products under a single brand name that can preferably be sold to the same types of customers. Now, a few examples of simple brands might be this camping brand right here that starts out with a camping axe, and then you would add a sleeping bag and maybe these wrist bracelets that have compass and other things on them. Or this baby brand here that starts out with a baby car seat, and then you add in a bunting bag, which is a little warm wrap to put around your baby in a stroller, and then maybe your own brand of baby wipes. Or this garden brand that starts out with these gardening shears, and then you add in a solar lantern, and then maybe some windowsill garden pots as well. Each of these is an example of just a few products that could each be sold to the same type of customer. Now, why is building a brand important? Well, think about these stats from marketing. First, the likelihood of a new customer that sees your product and ends up buying it is only between 5 and 20%. That's pretty average for all types of retail. Now, we like to get ours definitely between 10 and 20, maybe a little higher, but this is on average what percentage of new customers will buy your product when they see it. However, the likelihood of an existing customer of yours that buys another product jumps to 60 to 70%. An incredible increase in the odds of them buying your product. Now, you still have to get your product in front of them. It's not as easy as that. But as you can see, getting an existing base of customers by launching a brand of products is incredibly valuable for your business. Now, there are 3 types of products that we recommend you build in your brand. The first is going to be your starter product, and that's exactly why we call it that. It's the one we want you to start off with. The reason we want to start off is that it'll have plenty of room for a new seller to enter the market. It should have low startup costs, but it should still have good profit potential. Now, after your starter product is going, then you can launch what we call the growth product. It's a little more competitive, but it also comes with more profit opportunity. But there should still be room for new sellers to enter as well. And then after that, the next product we call your dream product. They can be very competitive and also be more expensive because you'll have had profits from your first 2 products in order to help fund this final product. But with those expenses and competition, also comes significant profit opportunity. Now, for the sake of ASM, we are going to focus on your starter product because that's where your entire brand starts, and it's a lot easier to add your growth and your dream products once you have a successful starter product up and selling. Now, let's take a look at our current starter criteria, and then we'll go through the growth and dream criteria as well. And don't feel like you need to write these down. You can actually download them from the sidebar in the attached PDF for this lesson. Now, for a starter product, we want it to be priced between $17 and $100. We just found that's the sweet spot because anything that's priced too little makes it hard to get enough profit, and anything that's priced too high makes it harder to afford your inventory. We want to make sure that in that product, there are no competitors that have a best sellers rank or BSR less than 100, because that would be an indicator that that product has a lot of competition in it. Now, speaking of competition, we also want to make sure that the top 10 competitors that you're going up against don't have an overwhelming number of views for you to compete with as a brand new seller. And the way that we're going to determine that is we're going to look for an adjusted average number of views from the top 10 competitors to be less than 2,000. Now, if you're wondering what an adjusted average number of views means, it's simply that we're going to take the top reviewed product out of the top 10. And the reason for that is because if there's one of the top 10 sellers that is just blowing by everyone else with reviews, they have 3, 5, 10 times as many reviews as the other 9 of the top 10, well, that's not something you really should be afraid of. We can compete against one seller easily, even a top seller. It's more if all 10 of the top 10 competitors have thousands and thousands of reviews, that would be a product that we want to avoid. So to make sure that we're adjusting in the event that one of the top sellers is really raising that average up too much, we're going to simply remove the top review product out of the top 10 and then use that average. We also want to make sure that there are 3 or more competitors that meet the following criteria. They're each selling over $5,000 a month. They each have less than 500 reviews. And they should be selling for longer than 60 days. And the reason for that is because if someone comes out and launches a brand new product in the past week or two, they can meet all this criteria very easily, but they really hadn't solidified that this is a good product yet because they're just launching the product and getting a bunch of sales. So we want to make sure that we're looking for these 3 competitors. They've been selling for at least 2 months. Now, you also want to find one more competitor that is selling over $10,000 per month with less than 900 reviews and has also been selling for 60 days or more. By having these 2 levels of competition, 3 sellers doing at least $5,000 a month, another seller doing at least $10,000 a month, that tells us that this current product has room for you to grow and scale over time, just like your competition is doing. Now let's take a look at the current growth criteria. We also want it to be priced between $17 and $100. We want to make sure that there's 2 competitors then that match the following. They're selling at least $10,000 a month, they have less than 900 reviews, and they've been selling for longer than 60 days. And then finally, for the dream product, you want it to be priced more than $17, but as you can tell, we've removed that upper limit of $100 as the price, because at this point, you should have more capital from the profits of your first 2 products to make it possible to go out for a more expensive product. But they should have 2 or more competitors that meet the following. They're selling at least $50,000 a month, and for reviews, we don't really care anymore. Now, of course, the less reviews, the better, but when you're to this point and you're adding your dream product and you already have 2 other successful products selling well, you can afford to go for something more competitive and reviews shouldn't really be an issue for you. But you still want to make sure that it's been selling for at least 60 days so you know that's not just a product that just launched. Now let's take a look at an example brand timeline. Yours won't be exactly like this, but this is one you could strive for. If you're a starter product, the goal would be to launch between 3 and 6 months from now. Then, in about 6 to 9 months, you should be close or have sold out of inventory, so you should be reordering in order to then grow your sales and profits that you make from that first product. For your growth product then, the goal would be to launch somewhere between 9 and 12 months. And you'd be able to use the profits, especially from your reorder from your first product, in order to help fund the purchase of your growth product. And then for your dream product, you want to launch somewhere between 12 and 18 months down the road and use the profits from both your starter and growth products to help fund this. Then the entire goal by the end of this is to have a brand of 3 products generating $100,000 a month or more in revenue, which would mean that you have a brand selling well over $1 million per year. Now, even though we're talking about eventually launching 3 different products for your brand, keep in mind that your brand all starts with just one product, and that is your starter product. And one thing we've learned from our existing successful sellers, such as David and Leah Cups right here, who've sold multiple businesses for millions of dollars, is that you never want to launch your first product without at least having your next product already in mind. That way, you don't end up with just one product that can do very well, but doesn't have the potential to turn into a brand. If you follow our training and have in mind your growth and your dream product, then when your first product is doing well enough, you already know that you can launch a second and then a third product to turn your brand into a life-changing business. Now, let's recap what we just covered. A brand is simply a collection of products that can be sold to the same or similar customers. Your first brand should start with a starter product, then expand with a growth product, followed eventually by your dream product. And finally, before you launch your first product, you should always have your second and third products in mind, even if they might change later on. So that's it for this lesson. Head on over to the next video and I'll see you there.